Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a full Faction War series between the Tyranids and the Forces of Chaos. Our first player will be RedRevenge, playing as the tunneling Ravener Alpha. This is a ranged Tyranid commander with the ability to make tunnels to get around the map. His first teammate is going to be Lokyo, playing as the Lictor Alpha, melee assassin commander that can infiltrate. And finally, it'll be Darkar, playing as the Hive Tyrant, tanky melee commander with the ability to knock down cover. Their opponents on the Forces of Chaos. We're going to start off with Cenzontotochtin, playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is a spell casting and battlefield manipulation hero. Next up, it'll be Revs, playing as the Plague Champion, ranged commander to start out, can get melee weapons, can also repair and heal. And finally, it will be Asmondeus, playing as the Chaos Lord, aggressive tanky melee hero who can walk through cover and not be suppressed. So this is coming from our May Faction War event, happened on May 23rd, and I'm just now getting around to casting some of these series. There are a ton of them, and we're going to get started off with this banger of a series right here on Estia Province, beginning for the first map. Chaos Space Marines peppering in some damage against the Hive Tyrant, who is currently not doing anything. Finally decides to approach them, which does force the kiting out of the Chaos Space Marines. Move speed, though, from that Heretic Worship makes it so that the Hive Tyrant will find it very difficult to catch up to them. Meanwhile, on this side, the approach from Cenzontotochtin, as well as, well, actually mostly Cenzontotochtin, pushing back the Tyranids in this lane. Red team, our Chaos players, should pretty soon get a hold of the contested victory point. With any luck now, they'll actually start capturing, and there it goes. Meanwhile, we're going to have more of a fight down here as some Heretics find themselves in melee with a bunch of Hormagaunts. Heretics will be in retreat there. There are just too many Hormagaunts. Chaos Lord, though, now by himself. They're actually not swarming around the Chaos Lord. Of course, they do want to be careful about not letting him restore his health with Kill the Weak. So it's just kind of a way you play around the Chaos Lord. Very much someone you got to kite very much and not feed into Kill the Weak. So many Hormagaunts coming out of our Tyranid players, and with these triple Hormagaunts approaching, as well as those Spore Mines, we will see the Chaos Space Marines retreating there. Meanwhile, the Chaos Lord's still kind of on an island by himself. I believe Kill the Weak has been used. So now I think, yeah, he needed to retreat out of there as soon as possible, because the longer he stays in there without Kill the Weak up, the more he risks actually being incapacitated. Does seem like the approach, though, out of RedRevenge, though, will start to work out pretty well here, and it's not just RedRevenge. It's his entire army, as well as the assistance from Lokyo's Lictor Alpha. So this should definitely be Cenzontotochtin in full retreat at any moment. Meanwhile, on this side, Termagants are going to solo bash this power node, while Spore Mines see if they can get any more value, but they will be shot down before that can happen. Tyranids here are going to be in retreat, since this is a double from both Revs as well as probably Asmondeus. Hormagaunts were in a little bit of trouble, but not ultimately wiped. Did lose quite a few models. As we do now see Termagants right here. I think they were probably trying... Oh, okay, it does look like they did get one generator bash, but especially once those Noise Marines approached, they would not have been able to do much more. Termagants definitely going to struggle quite a bit against the Noise Marines. That area of effect damage would just rip them apart as a squad, and they wouldn't really be able to shoot back once the Noise Marines get into range. Alright, Asmon will continue his approach, trying to get someone into melee with these Raveners. But the Chaos Space Marines are taking so much damage. They will get into melee with the Termagants, except now the Termagants will look for cover in the garrison. And Chaos Space Marines will just have to retreat out of there. They are lucky to not lose a model whatsoever. Spore Mines have been detonated on the Heretics, but they actually haven't lost a model yet. And what is going to be done here? I mean, he's just right outside the bunker. He can't really do much to them. Chaos Lord by himself, but definitely pushing the Raveners back quite a bit. More Spore Mines out. These are from, are they from RedRevenge, or are they from, these are RedRevenge's Spore Mines, so his are still up on the field. Spore Mines are basically just, basically a squad of grenades. They will detonate, they will do damage over time, can be used as anti-garrison. Relatively cheap, but that's considering they are pretty much an expendable squad. They will inevitably die. You actually can't get any value at them by keeping them alive, because detonating them does mean killing them, and that's how you get value out of them. All right, so it is going to be some Tyranids moving in to push down this generator. Termagants in a position where they could start to get some damage on. They do start to unleash a few volleys of shots, but I think the approach from the Chaos Space Marines does mean that they would probably start taking some damage. It's kind of kiting back and forth, going in, going out, seeing if they can get any damage, probably trying to scout out where the Noise Marines are, since the Noise Marines do win pretty hard against the Termagants, at least one of them individually, and possibly more than one if they're grouped up. All right, here it is. We're going to see kind of a pincered approach, but the Plague Champion is hooked in. He's in a huge amount of trouble right now. If anything, there's not enough melee focus on him, but I think he does go down in the end. Cenzontotochtin makes it in with his Heretics, but they're also being detonated by a bunch of Spore Mines. We see the area of effect, poison damage on them, had damage over time. It does look like our Chaos Player is going to be winning this engagement, but I think they also incurred a lot of losses on their own sides, just walking straight into those Spore Mines. And actually, I'm wrong. We do see RedRevenge, I think probably just a lot of his army coming right out of this tunnel, ready to fight. That probably was kind of the misplay there from the Chaos Players, not scouting out this tunnel and taking it out, because it does just mean that RedRevenge suddenly just appears out of it with an army, and he has a positional advantage against a half-strength Chaos army. Lictor Alpha here, meanwhile, making some short work of some Chaos Space Marines. Eventually, though, he will have to get out of there. And we do see our Tyranid players moving back, to, I guess, to engage onto Asmondeus. I would think, I don't know. Oh, I see. Wants to deny the capture onto, yeah, Chaos Lord. Okay. Oh, wow. Did he get the, no, he didn't get the Plague Champion up there. So Plague Champion was just bought back by Revs. It looks like a nice attempt, because it looked like he was still reviving the Plague Champion, even as he had used Kill the Weak. But I think eventually he kind of panicked and wanted to make sure he didn't lose his Chaos Lord as well, and hit the X button before actually completing the revive on the Plague Champion. All right, meanwhile over here, it does look like some slowed Heretics, probably slowed by the crippling poison from the Termagants. Termagants now deciding to turn around, focus fire the Heretics now that the Hive Tyrant is there to draw the attention. We do have the improved Synapse on the Hive Tyrant, so this grants him the improved Synapse. Increases the health of allied Tyranid non-hero, non-Synapse infantry units in radius 32, in addition to the effects of the basic Synapse. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, we're going to see more Chaos units in retreat as those Heretics are down to quite a few models. Raptors are in so much trouble. They do teleport in aggressively. They will hard win against the Termagants, but not so much against the Lictor Alpha and the Raveners, so that will be them in retreat. Honestly, at this point, I think they'll be lucky to get out of there alive, especially if there's a Flesh Hook. Okay, no Flesh Hook, but that was still a pretty close call for those Raptors. On this side, Hormagaunts. I think this Hormagaunt squad will get wiped. There are double Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines shooting at them, so we've already got Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines out of Asmon. He's got the double Chaos Space Marines, double Tzeentch. He's in Tier 2. In fact, pretty much all of our players are in Tier 2, except for Lokyo. Heretics, meanwhile, in so much trouble. I think they're just down. Yeah, they're only down to the Aspiring Champion. Okay, I think they will get out of there alive without a lot of melee to threaten them. Chaos Space Marines trying to focus down this Lictor Alpha. He does have the Toxin Miasma, reducing the speed and the damage of units that he attacks in melee. Now he'll attack the Chaos Lord, so he'll be reducing his damage there, but there's so much support coming in for him between these Heretics as well as the Chaos Space Marines from Revs. Meanwhile, Termagants trying to bash generators, but they're only going for the node, so they'll get the node. I think the response will be in time that these Termagants won't be able to get anything else. Crippling Poison used on the Chaos Lord to deter his approach. Okay, that's actually Termagants and Raveners. I don't think I called that out quite correctly, but a Blood Crusher is approaching. These Termagants and these Raveners can't do anything about this. Oh, that is Touch of Nurgle used on the Heretics, but most of these units are already in retreat. Yeah, full retreat from the Tyranids in that particular engagement. Meanwhile, this is... for a second, I thought it was triple Heretics, but it's only double Heretics out of Cenzontotochtin. His Chaos Space Marines are revealed. They finish the cap, but they'll probably have to retreat. Yeah, because look at all those model losses they're taking. He's trying to keep them in. He's going to lose them if he keeps them in there any longer. Down to their last model. Not meleeed by the Raveners who jumped in, so I think he got really lucky there not to lose the squad entirely after trying to keep them in there so long just to finish the cap. Chaos Heretics, meanwhile, will also get pinned down by that crippling poison yet again. One of these heretic squads is super low, about to get hit by a barbed strangler shot from the warriors. That will be a heretic squad down for Cenzontotochtin, and if he's not careful, he's going to lose another. Honestly, there's a decent, and indeed he does lose another heretic squad. Not respecting just about everything out of this Tyranid army. The crippling poison, the Hormagaunts, the barbed strangler, all of those things leading to 2 dead heretic squads for Cenzontotochtin. Inevitably, he will need to replace some of them. At this point, maybe only get 1. It does seem like the Tzeentch infiltration, given that it's detected now, not working out quite as well as it would as it was before. All right, Blood Crusher looking to maybe engage with this Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrant does not have the Crushing Claws yet, so he doesn't really have an answer himself, or the Venom Cannon, against this Blood Crusher, so he will lose handily against the Blood Crusher. Does not want to face him directly. So kind of a slow push out back from our Chaos players, though. In fact, it's a lot of victory points against them. And the Lictor Alpha is getting this point, or at least going to get the decap. And the Heretics are not really the best answer to that, because the Lictor Alpha will be content to nom on a lot of those models and then retreat out of there just fine. It's mostly the Chaos Space Marine threat that really got that Lictor Alpha out of there. So unfortunately for Chaos, they've suffered some losses. They've got the smaller armies. Tyranid players, or Tyranids in general, typically have bigger armies and are generally known for their strong Tier 1 pressure. So a lot of playing against them is not even trying to win in Tier 1, but simply trying to survive to Tier 1 and come back later on in this game. So in that regard, perhaps things aren't too out of the ordinary. But they are in Tier 2 now. All of our players are in Tier 2 now, so I think it's about time that they start trying to make their comeback. Unfortunately, the Blood Crusher moving this way, probably not going to be it. He will be finished off by the Electroshock Grub from the Warriors, as well as the follow-up fire from the Venom Brood. What a nice disruption from this Tunneling Ravener. The Ravener Brood. Doombolts mostly dodged by the Termagants, but there now is also a Noxious Cloud in play, but it's not really targeting much. Okay, finally starts targeting the Barb Strangler Warriors, but they're probably some of the tankier Tyranid units around. So I don't think... Yeah, unfortunately, it's definitely stumbling or fumbling out of our Chaos players at the moment. That was a failed engage on their part. So at some point, the Ravener Alpha was killed, but because the engagement overall was won by the Tyranid players, it was a very easy revive by Lokyo. Let me see some Heretics moving in here. It looks like they actually nearly managed to kill a Zoanthrope. That would have been a good prize, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So here's one of the big obvious reasons why we do see the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, mainly that they are up against the Tyrant Guard. The Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines will burn down the Tyrant Guard very, very fast. Not so much when he's in Shield Wall, but then he also can't do anything when he's in Shield Wall. Unfortunately for the Forces of Chaos, it's yet more victory point pressure being put on them. Infiltrated Lictor Alpha will at least get a decap here. That's still a 2-0. A lot of victory point pressure in favor of our Tyranid players, and they're putting on some pressure on the power farm as well. Power is gone up at this farm. The node will be activated again. But what we're probably going to be looking at here, well, actually, we've got all players in Tier 3, but we don't really have enough of an army out of our Chaos players. Unfortunately, I think these Chaos Space Marines not in a good position there, so that will mean a retreat from them. Raveners, meanwhile, in the back line, but because of the approach of the Heretics, they will be the ones who need to retreat. This other squad of Heretics, I feel, just in too deep. Heretics, although important and can do a lot of damage in melee, they are not the tankiest of squads, especially as far as melee squads go. So they don't always last long in those big engagements, especially if they are outnumbered. Meanwhile, Chaos Lord could should be a dead Chaos Lord. I think just a little bit more chasing from the Hormagaunts. Okay, I think he's pretty lucky to not lose his Chaos Lord there. He was going so slowly. More generator bashing out of our Tyranid players. This one will be Darkar, even using the Zoanthrope to bash. Zoanthrope now has the Symbiosis ability. Does heal allied Tyranids. And for once, we might actually see... No, we're not going to see a double cap go in favor of the Chaos, because they lost their natural yet again to the to the Lictor Alpha from Lokyo. They just can't catch a break in this game. Meanwhile, who is here? I can't even see it. That's a Plague Champion. Use Mucus Discharge, but there's just an overwhelming amount of range DPS. Raptors will jump in. They fall a little bit short, and now they've got Crippling Poison on them, and now they just have to retreat. Oh, no. That, unfortunately, was a rather big oof. Doombolts come in anyway, but not to great effect. Eventually, though, these Tyranid units will be scared off the field by the Let the Galaxy Burn out of Asmon's Chaos Lord, as well as the approach of the Bloodletters. Bloodletters, I've been told, are highly effective against much of the Tyranid Tier 2. But we are already in Tier 3, and we do have, aside from the Zoanthrope that we've seen before, 2 Carnifexes out on the field, Venom Cannon for RedRevenge, and the Barb Strangler for Lokyo. Bloodletters, you know, they might be good against Tyranid Tier 2, but they're not going to do that well against the Carnifex in melee. They'll do some very, very light damage, but take way more damage in turn and eventually bleed some of their models. You know, Chaos Lord trying to get that requisition point, but he will be forced off the field as well. All right, not much happening at the moment. We've got a Carnifex bashing a generator. Actually, I think it maybe was more targeting the Chaos Space Marines. But, you know, the funny thing is it doesn't even have to back up here. It could just turn around and fight. It could have stayed just fighting there because there really wasn't that much to put any significant threat on the Carnifex. There was no AV damage. The closest thing that there was were the Raptors, but the Raptors will definitely not trade positively there at all. This Carnifex, I guess, kind of has to fear the Noise Marines a little bit, but there's enough support here. The Carnifex can continue to push forward. Doombolts will go in on the Warriors. They do actually take a ton of damage, but just with this overwhelming approach, that will be the full retreat from Cenzontotochtin. Double cap being maintained by our Tyranid players at the moment, really squeezing the red team, those Chaos players, out of victory points. And it's getting very, very close to the point where we could see Game 1 in this series. As a reminder, this is a best of 5. The first game, the first team to 3 wins. Okay, small wins for our Chaos players. They do succeed in taking out the Tyrant Guard with the support of that Predator. Raptors will jump in. Unfortunately, they're jumping right into a Carnifex. They will get suppressed and take some burst damage from that Barb Strangler. Is this going to be another Noxious Cloud, or is it some Terminators? It is a Noxious Cloud. I just gotta sort out my visuals on those icons. That slight green tint to that, those runes or whatever those shapes are called, does indicate that it is a Noxious Cloud and not a Terminator call-in. Ooh, this Predator could be in trouble. Electroshock Grub is used on it. It's only a las cannon Predator, meant to deal a lot of damage to the Carnifexes, but it's going to take a lot of damage in return. Has to be warped out of there by the Sorcerer with the Warp Global. You know, we've got another Predator. This one actually looking to finish off the Carnifex, and I think it can succeed. Only needs one more shot. Problem is, while all this is going on, we need the red team to take a victory point. Will they get it? They've got literally seconds to get someone on a victory point, or this game is over. This one, no one's there. This one, no one's there. I think this is Game 1 going in favor of our Tyranid players. Just no one responding fast enough and getting on that victory point. I'm not sure. Maybe their best chance would have been something like to teleport the Bloodletters over here. But as it is, that's the end of Game 1. Goes in favor of the Tyranids. They will move up 1-0 in this series. That is it. Again, they go up 1-0 in this series. Time to move on to our next game. Game number 2 in our series will take place on Calderis Refinery. Our first player going to be Darkar on that Hive Tyrant. RedRevenge will be playing as the Ravener Alpha yet again, and Lokyo on the Lictor Alpha. On the other side, going to be our same players, same commanders. Asmondeus on the Chaos Lord. Cenzontotochtin is mysteriously gone, but he will be playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. And finally, it'll be Revs, also gone, on that Plague Champion. All right, so let's see what our Chaos players can do to come back into this series. Plague Champion will open fire on the Hive Tyrant, seemingly doing very, very little damage, but I guess it was just a very short burst, and then he decided to back up, not wanting to take any damage from the Termagants. Meanwhile, Chaos Space Marines taking some damage from the Termagants. One model, though, is in mortal combat with the Lictor Alpha, while the rest of them, the squad, kind of separated, trying to go towards the Termagants. However, Hormagaunts chasing after the Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines in a huge amount of trouble, especially as they need to retreat through some Hormagaunts, and they lose 2 of their models in that case. Unfortunately, a rough start here for Asmon, losing those Chaos Space Marine models like that. So, we're going to have 2 Chaos players here, I believe. It's definitely Revs, and it is also Cenzontotochtin, nearly wiping that Termagant Brood. That Termagant Brood is in retreat, just barely making it out of there alive with 8 hit points and 1 model. Where is this Ravener Alpha going, though? Is he going for some sneaky backcaps? Maybe on some power? Because we actually don't have much power purchased yet. And these are our Chaos players, because they're all trying to get, well, maybe not. Oh, yeah, they are all trying to get double Chaos Space Marine builds. So significant delay on them starting their power income by all of them going for double Chaos Space Marines this early on in the game. Although we don't see the power income, the generators and the nodes bought that much faster out of our Tyranid players. The Ravener Alpha taking some shots at the Chaos Space Marines, who will be content to just shoot back at him. Alright, at this time, I think the Chaos Space Marines will go for the cap on the point. But they move back on sight of those warriors, not wanting to find themselves getting leapt on in combat by the warriors. Warriors going in and out of the tunnel, moving back and forth. A lot of just, I don't know, push-pull here. And eventually, will we actually... Finally, there's the actual approach. That was one of the most tentative approaches I had ever seen. Completely missed Doom Bolts. But the warriors really not wanting to commit. They might now that there's more support. A lot more of RedRevenge's army, actually bringing his full army to bear. That's what he was waiting for. And I think maybe just moving back and forth did kind of deter Cenzontotochtin from ever actually capturing that victory point. So what looked a little questionable at the start might have actually just been some high IQ plays out of RedRevenge. Meanwhile, up here, our Hive Tyrant chasing after the Chaos Space Marines. No models killed yet on the Chaos Space Marines. One, however, walking right back into the welcoming claws of this Hive Tyrant. There is a Havoc setting up, shooting at the Hive Tyrant. Does scare it into retreating. Meanwhile, over here, more Doom Bolts are going to be going in from Cenzontotochtin, but he does also have to deal with the fact that these heretics are, well, not the heretics, but the Hormagaunts were getting in melee. Unfortunately, the Hormagaunts, I guess, realized that they probably would have been overwhelmed there. They were up against basically a blob of Chaos Space Marines, heretics, the Sorcerer, and it probably would not have been a good fight for them to be in there. Doom Blast suppression is used to slow down the Lictor Alpha, but eventually he does get unsuppressed. He will decide to just turn around and start nomming on some Heretic models, but eventually he does realize between the Heretic melee as well as the support fire from the Chaos Space Marines that he will need to retreat. Ravener from RedRevenge coming over to this side of the map. What is he looking for? Okay, he's looking to make another tunnel. It does make sense. Still a victory point lead for our Tyranid players. 500 to 344. But at the moment, it does look like we will soon have a double cap for the Forces of Chaos. It'll be their first time ticking some VPs down in their favor. This forward positioning by these Chaos Space Marines, if anything, to me, does look a little bit worrisome. Okay, Raveners do disrupt the Heretics, and they are able to tie up the Havocs. Big seismic roar out of the Hive Tyrant just knocks over that Chaos Army, and it's a full retreat for Revs here. Meanwhile, Cenzontotochtin still does control the middle. As long as he controls the middle, it's still going to be a double cap for our Chaos players, unless there also is enough of an approach out of Lokyo that he can actually capture the Chaos Natural, which might not be out of the realm of possibility, but for the moment, still a double cap for them. Hard to see around all of those structures, those water towers, or whatever they are, so we'll just move on over a little bit, take a look at what's going on here. Meanwhile, down here, some sneaky Hormagaunts just looking for a generator bash. So we have a Plague Champion trying to deter them, shoot them, bleed their models, but he will also be shot at by the Raveners, and eventually he will need to get out of there as well. So here's the approach by some Heretics. Heretics. Okay, I was wondering, are they going to bother to use Doom Blast? Oh man, that's some nice disruption by the Raveners, but is it? They're kind of just going into a hornet's nest of Heretics, and they realize that after getting that disruption, it just needs to be an immediate retreat from them. However, our Tyranid players have managed to reclaim the middle, so they will have the double cap back in their favor, along with an already pretty big victory point lead. 472 for them, 337 and counting down for our Chaos players. So it's still looking rough for our Chaos players in this series. Down one game, down in victory points in game 2. What can they do about it? How can they answer back? Double Chaos Space Marines out of Asmon. Right now, both of them have been upgraded with Eternal War, so it's definitely a lot of bleed that they can inflict on the Termagants. They can definitely burn the Termagants down pretty quickly. However, this fight might be a little bit much for them. Lictor Alpha is about to get into melee with them, but here's the Chaos Lord for support. One model will be flesh hooked. Does mean that that model is likely dead. We have more approach by them. Ravener Alpha, though, the Lictor Alpha realized that he will get overwhelmed, so he retreats, but this still looks like it's probably going to be a one engagement for a Tyranid player right here, barring any heroics out here. Oh, but the Raveners tunnel in, knock over the Chaos Space Marines. I would be very, very surprised. Okay, actually, maybe things are starting to go in Asmon's favor. The Raveners are pretty low on health, so are the Hormagaunts, and they need to retreat, but it's still many of these units getting shot at by Termagants, and eventually it does need to be a retreat by both the Chaos Space Marines as well as the Chaos Lord. On this side, however, Tyranids are overrunning these silly humans, and they will force them back into their base. It's only the Plague Champion who hasn't retreated yet, and finally he has to give in as well. Meanwhile, Termagants looking to push in, look to see what they can get in terms of a generator bash. Starting to make their way on this power generator as we see Termagants, though. I mean, for all their usefulness, I guess DPS not necessarily one of their biggest strengths, so they're not exactly something that's going to burn down that generator really quickly. In fact, especially considering they didn't finish that generator, that's actually a pretty big loss for them, bleeding 6 models between both squads while actually failing to take the generator at all. So we got someone calling for a res. It's Cenzontotochtin. He is right here, so that's definitely a very resable position. So Revs will be coming on over there to put that res in order. Plague Champion might even level up to 3 with that. Certainly, if not level 2, 3, then he'll be very, very close to 3. We're going to see some upgrades here, or at least some upgrades, but it looks like they were canceled. Okay, Chaos Plague Champion is back. Sorry, no. Sorcerer is back alive, but he is retreating because because he's a little bit low on health after being revived. Chaos will regain control of the middle. Flesh Hook does go out, though, on a single Chaos Space Marine model. That model will just be sniped and killed. That execution ability of the Lictor Alpha is just so rough, especially on some like high-value models like Chaos Space Marines. Ooh, Bloodletters. They're just tanking all this damage, and they're going to teleport in. I was really expecting them to phase out to the warp so that they wouldn't take damage after they had gotten slowed by the crippling poison. Let the Galaxy Burn thrown in. Does destroy the tunnel, but a much bigger fight's going to go on right here. So much going on that obviously I was missing. Noise Marines in here doing some damage. Noxious Cloud on the back of the Tyranids. A lot of damage going on. Reactions are a little bit slow, but also looks like the Plague Cloud wasn't moved back fast enough. I mean, on both sides. Kind of mess up on both sides. If RedRevenge had reacted a little bit quicker, wouldn't have taken as many losses, but also if Revs had actually was a little bit faster on microing that cloud back, he probably would have wiped some of those squads. Probably like 2 of them. Heal does go out. Unfortunately, they're walking right into the Hive Tyrant as well as the Tyrant Guard. They get a little too close. They're knocked over by the Seismic Roar, but there's still a lot of range damage going in on this Hive Tyrant. I think he's tanky enough that he won't go down. Havocs try to set up, but Hormagaunts are here. Eventually, though, they're just too squishy. They take a lot of damage from other sources, even though the Heretics were not properly set up. Meanwhile, over here, man, what is Asmon doing here? I caught one fight, missed another, missed Asmon, pushing Lokyo all the way back into his base. Meanwhile, more things go on right here as these Tyrant Guards just run rampant. You know what else it's going to be? It's going to be the Gene Stealers, or as they're sometimes better known as the Denim Thieves. Denim Thieves not actually finding much of the action right there, but their presence is enough to scare off some of these silly humans. All right, some of these silly humans, though, are going to be bold enough to go back on out of there. They're actually going to do a lot of damage to these Raveners if they're not retreated quickly enough. I think there's still a chance. Oh, I think if the Corn Marines continued chasing, they could have possibly killed that Ravener brood, but instead they refocus on a different target. But a lot of disruption going on in the Tyranids' favor. Warrior brood will be getting out of there. Otherwise, this is a big mass of red and green, and I can't entirely tell what's going on. Looks like in the end it's going to be a lot of retreats coming out of our, I think it's Cenzontotochtin right here. Yes, indeed it is. He's the one who has that red army scheme. Didn't realize I was zoomed in that much. But on this side, it does seem like Asmon's doing pretty well in his lane. These must be some blood sacrifice bloodletters. And it does seem like the momentum has slowed down a little bit for our Tyranid players, but it nevertheless overall seems to remain in their favor as they do regain the double cap yet again, still with the victory point lead. Asmon will be moving into the middle, though. He does have an upgraded Chaos Lord with Lightning Claws as well as the Armor of the Inferno. Those Lightning Claws will definitely rip apart this Bloodletter, and then he can use Armor of the Inferno. Oh, no, that was not a great Armor of the Inferno, or rather, Let the Galaxy Burn. I mean, that was, unfortunately, a pretty clean miss on the Let the Galaxy Burn. I think he might have hit the Tyrant Guard, but typically, obviously, you want to get that on the infantry, especially the squishy infantry, not just for the damage, but also for the disruption. Meanwhile, Hormagaun's going to be prioritized bashing the generators instead of trying to get the back cap on the victory point. They could have had that opportunity. Meanwhile, these Termagants, as well as these Raveners, at this point, starting to look a little outgunned by the double Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. We're also going to have the teleport in from the Bloodletters, and again, Bloodletters purportedly very, very scary for Tyranids to deal with. A couple of these Hormagaunts will be killed on retreat, but not the entire squad. Looks like 2 in the end, maybe. Meanwhile, more things going to happen right here. Noise Marines proven to be pretty effective at the moment, while these Hormagaunts pretty isolated. Unfortunately, we have staggered army approaches by our Tyranid players. We just saw RedRevenge retreat. Now Darkar is trying to move in for an engage, but I think he's outnumbered, and he does have to get out of there himself. Does have to retreat 1 squad. So our red team, our Chaos players, seeming to stabilize at the moment. They do have a double cap. VP's ticking down in their favor. They seem to be winning more fights, even though their army's still not exactly that big. Flash Hook on yet another Chaos Space Marine model. Will this particular Chaos Space Marine model... I think this Chaos Space Marine model might be fine, but now we see more of the engage going on. The double disruption from the Raveners, knocking so many of these Chaos units onto the ground. We even have the leap in by the Warriors, knocking down the Corn Chaos Space Marines. But I think once the Corn Marines get up, they're going to start ripping the Warriors apart. Oh no, that was not a fight that the Warriors wanted. The Warriors will be wiped. Just the Corn Marines absolutely ripping the Warriors apart once they were able to get back up from the leap. Yeah, I mean, I think I should have expected that. Obviously, the initial disruption from the Warriors leaping in was nice, but it wasn't enough because the Corn Marines are pretty tanky. They do quite a bit more damage to the Warriors than vice versa. And it's just a squad of dead Warriors, I think, for Lokyo. Because, yeah, he certainly doesn't have any more Warriors, but actually it looks like neither does Darkar. No, actually, I think that was Darkar. All right, the Denim Thieves going to start proccing their self-healing as they are fighting in a place that is hard to watch. We do also see the Chaos Shrine of Nurgle there as well, but Doom Bolts are going to go in on the Termagants. You know, more disruption going to come in yet again from those Raveners. Damage goes in. This should be another teleport in from the Bloodletters, and that should pretty much be Tyranids in full retreat at this time. Bloodletters now are hit by the crippling poison, and this should also be the Brood Nest dislodged. Tyranids still in here, however. 1 squad of Hormagaunts extremely low. Is that the No, those are the Gene Stealers, the Denim Thieves. Are the Denim Thieves going to be gone? They're so close to dying, and indeed, no more Denim Thieves. So our Chaos player is definitely stabilizing and starting to more than stabilize, starting to really win fights at this time. Their army still looks so small, and it does look like Revs still at some point lost a Heretic squad pretty recently. Meanwhile, we do have some Tyranid players going into Tier 3. Neurothrop will be coming out of RedRevenge, and a Carnifex will be coming out of Lokyo. So we'll see what difference that can make if they can finally start pushing these Chaos players back out. Of course, definitely hurts for our Tyranid players that they are missing 2 of their commanders at the moment. The Hive Tyrant for Darkar, as well as the Lictor Alpha for Lokyo. Looks like we will see an engagement going on right here. Looks like this one is massively in favor of our Chaos players. Chaos Terminators called down to the field by Revs. And the combination of both the Khorne Marines as well as the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines will absolutely rip this Tyrant Guard apart. Not even bothering to go into Shield Wall. Probably won't even survive that either. So he will just go down. There'll be no more Tyrant Guard. Lots of losses on the sides of our Tyranid players. Carnifex is starting to come out on the field. First Carnifex from Lokyo will be upgrading to the Barbed Strangler. And so far, our Tyranid players, or rather... Oh. Before I can even finish that thought, that is actually a win for our Chaos players. So they will be going up. Not going up, sorry. They will be tying this series up 1-1 as we move on to game number 3. Game number 3 in our series will take place on Deathworld Temple. RedRevenge, going to be playing as that Ravener Alpha yet again. Next up, going to be Lokyo, once again on the Lictor Alpha. A lot of things have not changed. Darkar is still on that Hive Tyrant. Meanwhile, on that other side, same players, same heroes. Asmondeus will be playing as the Chaos Lord yet again. Cenzontotochtin on Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. And finally, it will be Revs playing as the Plague Champion. So Deathworld Temple. This is one that honestly I don't see that much these days, but it's been around for a while. I'm pretty sure it is a community. It's not pretty sure. It's a community-made map, so it's not a stock Retribution map. I've definitely played on it a bit in the past, and if I played on it in the past, that means it's actually been around for quite a while. And no actual fighting yet. No shots fired just yet. Okay, Heretics get the contested victory point. But they will just look to move out of there. Finally, some shots being thrown in. Doombolt's also going in. Oh, man, the Hormagaunts actually take so much damage right there. But the Flesh Hook will go out on the Chaos Space Marines. Hormagaunts will be scared off, while the Lictor Alpha, starting to nom on the Chaos Space Marines, does eventually just kind of get them to retreat there. So much damage being put out by that Lictor Alpha, and eventually he does get a model. More Doombolts will go in, but that also means that the Heretics need to go as well. And inevitably... the Sorcerer loses here. He cannot win against the Lictor Alpha, even if there were no Termagants here to support, and even though the Termagants are not even fighting. Meanwhile, over here, does look like Asmon got the better of his opponent, though. Didn't catch much of it, other than that we see a lot of these Termagants just kind of in retreat. Another squad of Termagants in the garrison. No real answer to them yet, so they aren't under a huge amount of threat, and they're trying to just put in some damage on that Chaos Lord. Hormagaunts will also be approaching. So it does look like Tyranids won the middle lane, but the left and right lanes currently being controlled by our Chaos players. Revs capturing up the one of these contested power nodes as well. And at this point, Asmon needs to start backing up. Chaos Lord will get out of there without dying. Another squad of Chaos Space Marines here to provide some damage, fire support, but they find themselves getting knocked over by the Warriors in melee. They're not Khorne Marines this time, not yet. Too early in the game for that, so they won't be able to just get back up and then rip the Warriors apart. It will just be these Chaos Space Marines in retreat. Meanwhile, middle victory point has actually been canceled out, and now it's actually a significant victory point lead for our red team, for our Chaos players, and that's not a good look for our Tyranid players in this Game 3. Kind of talked before about the strength of the Tyranid Tier 1, how a lot of times you just kind of need to survive until later tiers. This time, it's our Chaos players getting off with a really strong start. double Chaos Space Marine builds out of all of their players. So that might be part of the adjustment that they're making as a team. In that first game, we had multiple Heretic builds, especially out of Cenzontotochtin. Second game, they all went for the double Chaos Space Marines. It worked out well for them there. Seems to be working out well for them in this game as well, which might be why it's happening. We're already seeing Eternal War upgrades on some of these Chaos Space Marines as well. There's another Eternal War upgrade. Yeah, both of these Chaos Space Marines for Rev also have Eternal War, so this might be something that they're talking about, if they are, like even in voice comms together, just strategizing about what they need to do. Who's going to get that victory point? Does look like the Plague Champion will get on there. The rest of them are looking to see if they can find a flank on this Hormigaunt Brood, make it pay. See, I mean, even I don't know how good of a chance they have of actually killing the entire squad, but while I'm waiting for something to happen there, things are actually happening here. A squad of Heretics is here, taking a lot of damage, uses Doom Blast, does manage to suppress the Raveners. But right now, the Termagants are being pretty much unanswered. They don't have Toxin Sacks, so their damage isn't huge, but they're still just doing damage pretty much with impunity. Finally, I think they start taking damage, but the Chaos Space Marines retreat out of here. They actually still have most of their health, but it's just the rest of the units for Chaos forced off the field, so they will be going as well. Meanwhile, some Chaos units moving forward. This Heretic squad aggressively trying to take care of that tunnel. He might have lost track of them. Okay, he finally does retreat them. They will get out of there with only 2 of their models, one of them being the Aspiring Champion, but this will be the victory point, flip back over in Chaos's favor. Or maybe not. He's going to walk away from it, or maybe send the Chaos Lord to do it. While the Chaos Space Marines move forward, looking to see what damage they can do, but if it's just Chaos Space Marines, they can just get jumped on by the Raveners. Chaos Space Marines at this point really need to go. Yeah, that needed to be a retreat pretty much as soon as the Crippling Poison was on that squad of Chaos Space Marines. This other one has to go too. Like, at this point, there's not much more to get here for Asmon other than get the victory point, and even the Chaos Lord needs to get out of here. If he had let the galaxy burn, maybe he could stick around just a little bit longer, but he doesn't have that yet. It's still too early in the game for that. Meanwhile, something's finally happening here, and unfortunately, it looks like I missed much of it. So Tyranids definitely in full retreat in this lane, while the opposite happens down over here. It does also look like this is definitely plenty of time to make a generator bash happen with all of this firepower out of the double Termagants. Both of them upgraded with Toxin Sacks now, as well as the Raveners. They will finish off the node, now start to make their damage known on the generators. That was not a well-formed sentence, but oh well. One generator going to be down now. There it is, one generator. They're going to actually move back based on the approach of these Chaos Space Marines. I think they can fight this. Especially, unfortunately, they might have waited around a little bit too long. Like, if they had gotten in there sooner, jumped in the Raveners sooner, the support from the Heretics and the Chaos Lord wouldn't have been here. As it is, it looks like he's doing well enough in this engagement anyway. Ooh, one squad, though, does have to get back. I think there might have been a special attack from the Chaos Lord. Here's some support, though. Support coming in from Cenzontotochtin to help him out. Make sure they don't lose any further generators. However, in the process, it does look like Revs needed to make a lane switch to the middle. As that's happening, middle has been decapped, so it's now a 1-to-1 in cap, but a significant victory point lead for the red team. That does mean that Darkar is currently actually alone on this side of the map. He's not sending anyone to get the victory point yet, though. Meanwhile, bottom victory point taken again by Asmondeus. Looks like some Doom Bolts might have gone in, just all that lingering purple stuff sticking around. As we're going to see this approach by Darkar, again, moving into the middle, not even bothering to get back the victory point on that side of the map. There's no one stopping him, but he just wants to commit his whole army to helping his team take back the middle victory point. A lot of Tyranids in retreat, though, so this is not looking like it's the time for the Tyranids engagement. Darkar is backing off, trying to go back to his lane, get his own victory point on that side, but that does mean now that Lokyo is by himself and ultimately losing that engagement as a result, because he is still kind of getting doubled by Revs and Cenzontotochtin. Ooh, but on this side, losses coming in. I think, yes, that will be a Chaos Space Marine squad wiped for Asmondeus. That's going to be pretty rough. Meanwhile, Heretics in trouble, but I think they will get out of there alive with just the Aspiring Champion. Definitely makes things quite a bit harder for Asmon, but he's already in Tier 2, and he is getting the Bloodletters. Again, a unit that is said to be quite good against the Tyranid Tier 2. I'm still a little bit concerned because it does just seem like his army is going to be so small at this point with only those 3 squads. We'll see what he can make of it. as it does look like RedRevenge does, each time he prioritizes the node over the actual power generators. Oh, he's putting down a hive node. This is potentially cheesy play, but it looks like he's also about to be doubled. Given the fact that he's about to be doubled, that might be enough to stop this. Well, I don't know. No, here's some support. Here's the support from Lokyo. I think with the support from Lokyo, I think the Tyranids can hold this with the hive node. Okay, a lot of damage going into the Warriors, though. The Warriors will need to get out. Let the Galaxy Burn is here for the Chaos Lord, but he hasn't used it yet. It's going to come in soon. Denim Thieves unveil themselves, and they'll be going into melee. Let the Galaxy Burn, unfortunately, not a fully clean hit. Some of those things missed, but ultimately the Chaos Lord will go down there, being surrounded by the Denim Thieves. Hive Node is still alive. Chaos Space Marine's still in there doing damage, but I think this is a one engagement for the Tyranid players in this lane. Hive Node is something that is actually very, very powerful. It's one of those things, though, that until I see it, I forget that it even exists. Meanwhile, the Hive Tyrant here does have the Rending Talons. He's been prioritizing that War Gear quite a lot. He does like it. Also has the Improved Synapse. Meanwhile, Plague Champion is getting some upgrades, has the Plague Sword, actually getting the Fetid Armor. I feel like you don't see that one as often. Usually people try to save for the Armor of Pestilence in Tier 2. He's actually already in Tier 2, but going for the Fetid Armor anyway, which makes it all the more curious. Maybe he does have some kind of plan that I don't know about or don't understand. Fetid Armor does not give you the tankiness of the Armor of Pestilence, but you get this Unholy Stench ability, which can actually suppress units around you as well as doing damage to them. All right, meanwhile, this is continuing the approach attempt. It's now a triple cap for our Tyranid players. So the victory points start going to really go massively in their favor. This Hive Node is actually just so powerful, but finally, it just might finally be dislodged because the Tyranid players are playing so far back behind it, and there's not enough pressure on the Noise Marines to protect the Hive Node. Meanwhile, the Lictor Alpha will go down, and the rest of these units, they either need to retreat or they need to get back into the Ravener Tunnel, or they will be getting wiped as well. Bloodletter's actually threatening the Ravener Tunnel. The Ravener Tunnel is gone, but it looks like they got in there just in time. And Khorne Marines will be here yet again for Cenzontotochtin, but at some point he did lose another Chaos Space Marine squad as well. For the moment, Tyranid players maintaining the double cap. Okay, Hive Tyrant will be disrupting a bunch of Chaos Space Marines with those Rending Talons, but he is here on an island by himself. As tanky as he is, a flank by the Hormagaunts far too late. They lose a model even just on their back pedal. All right, does look like Chaos will stabilize at this time. Soon to be a double cap, or will it? Sorcerer is here by himself. He'll try to finish the cap, then probably just teleport away. Ooh, it does not even finish it. Worried that he might have gotten knocked back and then swarmed around by the Denim Thieves and would have gotten killed. Meanwhile, Noise Marine's still here. Noise Marine's about to be pincered. They gotta go. I don't know if our Chaos players know about this secret Ravener Tunnel. This is actually so rough at this time. Let the Galaxy Burn goes in. Unfortunately, not such a clean Let the Galaxy Burn. Mostly misses because the Termagants as well as the Raveners were already kiting away. Chaos Lord will start ripping apart this Lictor Alpha, though, with those Lightning Claws. But now he's under so much fire that I think he will probably go down first. And indeed he does. Chaos Lord goes down, but the Lictor Alpha will be traded out. Doombolts go in. They do connect a bit, and okay, they don't take care of the Ravener Tunnel. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, in the middle, Heretics from Cenzontotochtin will be retaking the natural victory point. Just kidding, I meant the contested victory point. The middle victory point. Okay, looks like they actually found the tunnel. I was wondering if they were going to find that. Dark Flames will go out on all these Termagants, but they will just get back inside the Ravener Tunnel. The Ravener Tunnel itself will be burned down, though, from that Dark Flames. Dark Flames these days, even more commonly used as a nuke than before. Even though it's not terribly strong, if you get it on some squishy squads, it can really help you to win an engagement. We're going to see a Chaos Dreadnought out of Asmondeus. These days, I keep on hearing people talking down on Chaos Dreadnoughts, saying that they're not quite as good. But you know what? Regardless of that, that Chaos Dreadnought finished off the Denim Thieves. The Bloodletters themselves in a huge amount of trouble, but they will make it out alive. And, regardless, we see a Chaos Dreadnought here from Asmondeus. Let's see what value it can get. Right now, it's in its vanilla form, and for the moment, it's also pretty much uncountered, and especially if it can get some more support. I mean, I'm actually surprised that they're keeping the Tyranid units in here this much longer, especially because here's a lot of support coming in after them. Noise Marines are here. I guess probably they were looking for another turret, seeing if they were there. Oh, no, this should be a bunch of squad wipes if this is done correctly. Are we going to see the other one killed? Probably. Oh, God, that actually... Come on, are they going to finish that one off? 1 hit point, and finally those squads are killed. So that helps these Chaos players just a bit, getting those squad wipes. Unfortunately, I did not see which Tyranid player it actually was whose squads those belonged to. But whoever it was, clearly a significant overextension. Maybe it's even possible that they did come out of a tunnel there and then found themselves in a bad position because the tunnel was destroyed. Meanwhile, Darkar looks like he might be trying to make some approach on this victory point. A little slow on it. Oh, he needs to retake his own... No, yeah. Oh, no, I'm potatoing right here. Darkar, this is not his own power farm. This is the Chaos power farm. And he will get the victory point there, as well as try to start a power bash here. Feels like a pretty slow power bash, as the units are kind of split in which generators they are targeting. But if there's no response, they will slowly but surely get them. It does look like we might have more exciting things going on over here. Another Let the Galaxy Burn, not quite a value hit on it. Only one of those fireballs connected out of 4. Typically, when you're looking for a really good Let the Galaxy Burn, you're looking for most of those fireballs to hit, and for basically most of those units just to be caught in all that damage over time. Meanwhile, here it is, just another engagement going on. Noise Marines will be getting out of there, as well as these Khorne Marines taking some splash damage from that Tyrant Guard. Doom Bolts go in. Unfortunately, those will be definitely a miss. Double cap for the Tyranids at the moment. 2-0. And who is this in here? Is this the Plague Champion? Yeah, Plague Champion does need to get out of there. Oh, he will not be so lucky. He'll be not just tossed aside. Oh, man. What a sync kill. What a great one. And this is pretty much our Chaos players really in retreat at this time. We now have a Tzeentch Dreadnought out of Asmon. Just looking to probably do... these days, it doesn't seem like the Tzeentch Dreadnought is very meta. I don't see a lot of people getting it at a high level, and I definitely have heard a few people kind of say that it's not so great. There are definitely some changes that occurred to it over time where it was less effective against infantry, but there's still definitely some value it can have here. Obviously, just one of the obvious things is that it does do quite a bit of damage to the Carnifex. The other thing is that the Barrage, the Frenzied Barrage, can actually do pretty well to suppress all of these grouped up Tyranids, and then you can also follow that up with other things like Doom Bolts, like Let the Galaxy Burn. Those things can all work out. All right, Missile Launcher will hit the Tyrant Guard, but the Plague Marines incredibly overwhelmed there. And at this point, our Tyranid players really starting to run away with this game. We do see Cenzontotochtin in a desperation attempt just to get a victory point to slow things down. But at some point, they're also in a bit of a risky position. They're about to get flanked by a lot of Tyranid units that will be approaching in on them. Where did the Sorcerer even go? Oh, he just walked right past them. All right. Carnifex is going for him now. We did have a power bash by the Noise Marines, but I don't know how much that's worth at this point in the game. Because we're definitely getting really, really low on victory points. Our Tyranid players already in Tier 3. I mean, obviously, it could just be, fishing for red so that you can use it on nukes, Imperial Abysses, Dark Flames, Noxious Clouds, things like that. Bloodlust maybe out of the Chaos Lord. Red Team Chaos does not have a single victory point at the moment, though, so it's really starting to look rough for them. They're going to try to get this contested one, but they will starting to be threatened by the Neurothrope. I believe that was Paroxysm activated on the ground there. I really got to double-check the Codex, though, or just check it in-game, really refamiliarize myself with the Neurothrope's abilities, because that's one that out of everything in this game definitely did not really stick with me in my long-term memory over the years. But I believe it was Paroxysm there. I think maybe it did stick with me better than I thought, but I'm just not confident. I believe he used Paroxysm there, the Neurothrope, which was the damage over time. He does also have Cataclysm, which I believe is the AoE knockback. Oh my god. Does the Neurothrope make it out of there? Alright, he does. But that was a pretty close call. Bloodlust was actually activated by Asmon here, but it still feels like he might be overwhelmed, and he still does not really have an answer to the Carnifex. So he's going to prioritize the Termagants. The Termagants can't really deal with these things either. Oh, but the Chaos Space Marine's still losing models, and the Termagants will just get into another Ravener tunnel. And while I'm talking about all that, that will be the victory points counting down in favor of our Tyranid players. So they will take game number 3 in the series, leading 2-1. And with only one more game, they will be able to crown themselves as the champion of this faction war. Can they do it, or will our Chaos players have something to say about it and come back in game number 4? Game number 4 in our series will take place on White Walls of Calderis, an often forgotten map, and honestly I'm surprised it even makes it into these things. RedRevenge will be subbing out, and in his place will be Don't Cry, playing as the Ravener Alpha. Next up, it'll be Darkar still here on that Hive Tyrant. Lokyo will also be on the Lictor Alpha yet again. Revs still on that Plague Champion on the Chaos side. Asmon still is the Chaos Lord, but I think he might have gone for a different army skin. And finally, Cenzontotochtin, still Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. And I think he has the same army skin. So, Cenzontotochtin looking to make it 2-2. This is, I mean, it's nice to see this map just for the sake of variety, one that I often forget exists until it finally shows up. Not a commonly played map, and there are some problems with it. Things like here, it's occasionally possible that units can get bugged and stuck inside this gardening structure, which is why sometimes it's not really well liked. Sometimes, I think all the entrances to bases, you can also sometimes get pinned really hard in there if you are losing. Meanwhile, oh man, these heretics from Revs taking so much damage. They need to get out of there before they are wiped entirely. They won't. In fact, they even Doom Blast the final model. Probably not really intending it. Even Lokyo can't believe it. Alright then. Meanwhile, over here, Asmon taking control of the middle, which had already been taken control of by some Tyranids, but it looks like he will wrest control of the middle victory point. He'll get away from it, deciding to fight with that Chaos Lord. He's still... Victory points are ticking down in his favor. Heretics will unworship. Chaos Space Marines will get in the garrison. This is looking like a one fight for Asmondeus in this middle lane, or this middle area. Some Doom Bolts will go in. Unfortunately, a complete miss on those Doom Bolts by Cenzontotochtin. He will start hitting those Hormagaunts with the butts of the bolters. Meanwhile, we have some Spore Mines eventually just kind of getting finished off there, but ultimately a lost engagement for Cenzontotochtin, and yet not a whole lot to be won on this side of the map. So it's really definitely on Asmon a lot to make sure he's winning this lane. And it does look like, though, the blue team has taken control, the Tyranids that is, of the Chaos Natural. Revs looking to get control of that back pretty soon, and he will get it. Hasn't replaced his Heretics yet. So he'll need to put a unit on that victory point. He also has a Plague Champion, very, very early upgrade on that Plague Sword. Plague Sword of course, does power melee damage. It does also ignore melee resistance. Even says now, damage done by this weapon ignores melee resistance. That's a pretty old trait of it that I think it's earlier on in the life of Dawn of War 2. I think it was not even explicitly documented that it ignores melee resistance. And it's also a feature that isn't commonly talked about, but basically there are certain units in this game that have a passive trait called melee resistance. They take units with that trait take 40% less damage from melee weapons. But this is, I believe, the only melee weapon in the game that ignores melee resistance. So even against units that have the melee resistance, this Plague Sword will do its full damage and will only be modified by armor type. Alright, Chaos Lord is in here. I think he's a bit overwhelmed. Does manage to regenerate a little bit of health with Kill the Weak, but I don't think it will be enough. He's got some support in form of these Chaos Space Marines who are trying to do some damage. Will the Chaos Lord go down in retreat, though? There's a decent chance. Heretics right there, though. Make sure that it doesn't happen. Acting as a screen, but at this point, they might be screening just a little bit too much. Oh, and the Termagants will get out of there. All those Termagants will get out of there. A little bit surprised to see them get off the field so suddenly. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, does look like Cenzontotochtin is able to answer back at this time. And there's a very, very clear adjustment for these players where after the first game, they all went double CSM for all of the remaining games. So apparently that's just kind of the strategy. That's the way, the right choice. Cenzontotochtin was at least one person who I remembered went for a double Heretic build instead. Meanwhile, though, Cenzontotochtin now in a bit of trouble. Does the Sorcerer get out of there? No, he does not. We see the attempted flank by Asmon, but it's only with the Heretics. Meanwhile, other things are going on this side. Chaos Space Marines right here trying to capture this requisition point. Getting shot at by the Raveners. The other squad of Chaos Space Marines looking if it can take some shots in the back at these Termagants that are scaring off Cenzontotochtin, but I don't know if they'll be able to do it. Meanwhile, Noise Marines approaching alone. They can't take on that whole army. At least one of those units will be able to tie them up in melee. Eventually, I think it is where most of our Chaos players just getting forced off the field, except for Revs, who is actually getting out here. Plague Champion has been upgraded with the Mucus Discharge. So this is, about as tanky as you can make him in Tier 1. Just giving him... Well, he does have... Okay, and he's getting the Fetid Armor. Yeah, this is about as tanky. I mean, it's a full upgrade, so of course it's going to make him tankier. But specifically this choice of the Mucus Discharge as opposed to the Blight Grenade is just going for a tanky Plague Champion in Tier 1. You don't get the Armor of Pestilence, which is how you make him full-on tanky. But he does get the heal from the Mucus Discharge, which he can use as a self-heal, as well as, of course, healing his own units. Alright, Raptors will jump in there, but most of those units just jump right back into the Ravener tunnel, so there's not too much that is won by that engagement. Certainly not much damage or bleed inflicted, but it does scare them off the field and does give Chaos space to start pushing back out. Meanwhile, on this side of the map, we are going to see Chaos Space Marines trying to shoot at all these things, but they're very, very overwhelmed. Revs even calling the double. That's a pretty good call on Revs. He called the double without actually really getting engaged on and taking much damage. So good recognition by him on the other side of the map. Don't Cry calls the 2. Calls the double. And I mean, of course, it's like, well, if one player's getting doubled on one side, then that means on the other team, you can double the other person. Raptors will be jumping in. They'll jump in on the Raveners. Ooh, fights are going on pretty much on all sides of the map at this point. Noise Marines are pretty low on health, but that Cacophony is knocking them down. The Noise Marines are gone, though. They get all that disruption, and they win the fight, I think. Or do they? Where's the Sorcerer? No, they don't win the fight. I'm not even sure. It's going back and forth. Units on both sides are retreating. Raveners getting out of there with all 3 of their models is pretty lucky for them. Most of that fight is done, so let's see what's going on with this one. Oh no, most of this fight is done too, and much more punishing result for Asmon losing those Raptors. Chaos Space Marines still out on the field, but the only thing that's going to happen with them staying out here any longer is that they will lose some models. Asmon, about as lucky as he can get after losing those Raptors, and does not lose any models on either of the Chaos Space Marine squads. Cenzontotochtin ultimately not happy, I guess probably because he lost those Noise Marines, using that Cacophony for the disruption, but then losing the squad. Hormagaunts, just idling. Got to be careful with my words, and they will be opened fire by some Chaos Space Marines, but because they are in retreat, at most I think we might see another Hormagaunt model go down, but it looks like that might not even happen. Alright, they will just open fire on all these Termagants. I think Raptors will be jumping in pretty soon. Okay, Raptors jump in. They do get all that suppression, but in turn, we have the disruption from the Raveners, knocking over the Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines are now in melee with the Raveners. Lictor Alpha is in melee with the Plague Champion. Plague Champion's super low on health and might be getting knocked down. He does have to use Unholy Stench as basically a way to protect his retreat. Lictor Alpha went a little too far ahead, but he's also not punished with forced melee by the Chaos Space Marines. That could have been a wipe on the Lictor Alpha, and it was just a missed opportunity for our Chaos players at that time. Tyranids still pushing in far. My god, look at this. Look at this cheeky... Okay, that cheeky Ravener tunnel was eventually sniffed out, though. Revs recognize it, does destroy it. Man, Revs hasn't gotten anything after these double Chaos Space Marines. Just goes straight into Tier 2. Now getting a Blood Crusher on the way. Asmon wants a squad of Noise Marines, but then he cancels it. Only still the double Chaos Space Marines. A lot of Doombolts go in. Does get a few... Oh, man. Just going in and out of the tunnel. Going in the tunnel just to dodge the Doombolts, then getting back out, going back in again. That one squad of Termagants really needed to get back in there before the tunnel was destroyed. Otherwise, they would have been wiped. One squad of Chaos Space Marines for Asmon will get forced off. The other one, unfortunately, not in such a great situation themselves. They need to retreat too. They lose a model in retreat. Double Khorne Marines from Cenzontotochtin. I think they can finish off... No, they can't finish off the Hive Tyrant. Maybe they still can, because the Hive Tyrant's still going in. I don't know if the Hive Tyrant realizes that, but... Like, what... The seismic roar was what protected his retreat, but then he didn't retreat. Because the double Khorne Marines, they can absolutely just overwhelm the Hive Tyrant and finish him off there. So he used the seismic roar. That was his opportunity to retreat, but he went back in. Khorne Marines are no joke. They can be scary in the right composition, in the right hands. And now we've got a different kind of Marines here, different kind of melee Marines. Going to be the Chosen Plague Marines. Ooh, Lictor Alpha is just idling, perhaps just waiting for something. Okay, eventually does go for the decap, but Rev sees what's going on. He'll move over there, then he's going to move back to the Raveners. So finally, okay, Lictor Alpha obviously going to be revealed. He will be suppressed by that unholy stench from the Plague Champion. Plague Champion does get knocked over by a special attack, but the suppression on that Lictor Alpha, the 300 courage damage, just keeping him perpetually suppressed. He forced melee, and he goes down here, I think. I don't know if that was maybe missed or something. I thought he would go down there. I'm a little surprised that he didn't. He might actually still. It's so close. 4 hit points, and he doesn't go down. Okay, Chosen Plague Marines will approach. Chosen Plague Marines, obviously very, very slow, but at the same time also quite tanky. Taking a lot of damage here. Is there another cast? There's another cast of Crippling Poison. Nurgle's Rot is activated by the Chosen Plague Marines, and here is a Zombie Ravener actually opening fire. So many Zombie Termagants as well. That is the Nurgle's Rot ability from the Chosen Plague Marines, basically having the same effect of the Plague of Undeath Global from the retail Dawn of War 2, where enemies killed will linger on death as zombies, but in control of the Chaos player, the Plague Champion player. Chaos Lord will be revived by Cenzontotochtin. Noise Marines, not Noise Marines, Khorne Marines coming in here, trying to do some damage to these Raveners. Raveners will be lucky to get out alive. Venom Brood now potentially in trouble. Suppression goes in on the Venom Brood from the Heretics. I think the Venom Brood just needs to retreat, otherwise they might actually get wiped entirely. He's trying to just micro them out of there, but it might be too late now. Another Synapse Bomb goes off. Can the Khorne Marines finish it in retreat along with the Heretics? Yes, they do. Khorne Marines actually great at killing on retreat. I'm surprised they're not going in for more. Could possibly get one of those Ravener models. Double Khorne Marines proven to be pretty scary in this game. These are from Cenzontotochtin. Level 2 Khorne Marines now. Level 3 on one of them. I actually didn't see what that was that they just stepped on. I think it's an ability from the Ravener. It is the Burrow Trap, yeah. Grants the Ravener Alpha. Plant Burrow Traps, stun, knockback, and deal 150 explosive damage. Man, that's actually a lot. So, but Khorne Marines, they're a little bit tankier, so they were able to handle that. Wow, they're getting shot at by the Hive Node from the base. I didn't know that could do that. That's pretty busted. Okay, now I think the Khorne Marines, I think their days are over. Like, I think, yeah, it just needs to be a retreat now. They did a lot. Well, their days are not over, but they need to retreat to fight another day. Meanwhile, let's see what's going on right here. Double Chaos Space Marines, one with Mark of Tzeentch, the other one with no mark, will be disrupted by the double Raveners. All right, meanwhile, on this side of the map, the Chosen Plague Marines moving in It is a victory point lead for our Tyranid players, but the momentum of the match does not really feel significantly in their favor. Oh, finally, we actually see a really, really good Let the Galaxy Burn out of Asmon. He had a lot of misses earlier on, but that was a nice, clean hit. Does a lot of damage through those Termagants. Ravener's still out on the field, however, and another squad of Raveners will be called in. Ooh, if anything, I don't know if I like the Noise Marines. Well, I don't know. I guess it keeps the Swarm Mines all out of this fight. But I feel like some shots could have gone in on either these Raveners or the Venom Brood. Now the Noise Marines are not set up. They're trying to turn around, but I think eventually they can be overcome. Yeah, they will just retreat. Oh, the Heretics, not so lucky. They're not even really retreating. They stood in there for so long, and that wasn't even his fault. He pressed the X button, but we saw that for some reason they just kind of bugged out and stuck in there for way too long. Corn Marines are back out on the field, however. Corn Marines proving to be pretty scary right now for these Tyranids. Was that another... Yes, that was definitely another burrow trap. So this is Cenzontotochtin. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, if Bloodletters are very, very effective against Tyranid Tier 2, then Corn Marines actually function in a very similar way, sans the ability to teleport. Two level 3 Corn Marine squads is actually pretty nutty, especially as this game goes on. Double Chaos Space Marines right here, just level 2. What does Rev have? Rev has one squad that you can't see at the moment for some reason, not sure where it is. The other squad is level 2 as well and does have the Mark of Khorne. Starting to open fire on these Termagants will do a lot of damage to them very quickly, as we see the Termagants now down to only half their hit points. Here's the approach, but this should be some pheromones, I believe, out of the Lictor Alpha. A little bit surprising. No, Toxic Cysts. I was mixing those up. And the Heretics, what are they doing? Oh no, the Heretics. Not going well for those Heretics. Heretics are really just being sacrificed for the Blood God in this game, or for Nurgle, or for whichever Chaos God you worship. Toxic Burst there deals 10 piercing damage to units surrounding the Lictor Alpha and increases the Lictor Alpha's health. So that Toxic Burst with the 10 piercing damage absolutely going to make short work of all those Heretic models. All right, meanwhile, Corn Marines were taking some damage over time. They might just get the Ravener Alpha here. Can barely see it. Yeah, they will kill the Ravener Alpha. Just need to make sure they don't take any more losses of their own. They're deciding they can win this engagement. I mean, we're actually really seeing a good case being made for Corn Marines in this game, at least against Tyranids. They're really actually just bullying most of these units. They get a squad kill there, another squad kill. I do think that Corn Marines, they might actually be the second or third best unit at killing in retreat in the game. You know, one typically thought of as usually the Howling Banshee's typically thought of as the best, but then there's also the question of like, wait, but are Seer Council also really good at that too? But I think Corn Marines are pretty close up there. Probably at least the third best, if not the second best unit at killing in retreat in the game. So victory points now really evened out. Oh no, another miss Let the Galaxy Burn. He had a few bad ones, then he had a good one, and then another bad one. Chaos Space Marine's taking a lot of range damage from that. What a Tyranid blob that is. And here's also the Toxic Cyst being activated yet again. One Chaos Space Marine model does go down, and this would also be such a good time to actually have Let the Galaxy Burn with the re-engage by all of these Termagants and Raveners. Unfortunately, how is this going to go for Asmon? With the Chaos Lord right there, he's able to really rip apart the Raveners that jumped on the Chaos Space Marine. So actually, it's going okay. Even though he didn't have the Let the Galaxy Burn to use on that big blob, still managing to make things go in his favor, Asmon is. So double cap in favor of Chaos at the moment. I don't know why I was zoomed in again like that. Oh, it's because I press backspace whenever I turn the camera to get a view at an angle that's otherwise obstructed. Okay, slow goings at this point. Denim Thieves out on the field for Darkar. Doombolts going in on the Swarm Mines. Probably not their highest value use out of them. Meanwhile, Chosen Plague Marines. No, these are the Chosen Plague Marines, right? I just didn't click on them properly, and there were some Chaos Space Marines there as well. One Chaos Space Marine model actually separated from the rest of his squad. Chosen Plague Marines, are they going to commit to this? Okay, they activated Nurgle's Rot. I think they need some support, though, if they're going to make this happen. Unfortunately, though, most of the infantry units are in the back, and a lot of the damage is going to be going out on the Hive Tyrant as well as the Tyrant Guard. Eventually, though, okay, there's a lot of support there with all of these Khorne Marines, though. There's a big seismic roar out of the Hive Tyrant, but again, he has to use that to actually cover his retreat. Yeah, he's already taken so much damage. The Hive Tyrant is going to go down yet again. Chaos Space Marines nearly wiped, but get out of there with just 20 hit points. Meanwhile, I don't think the Tyrant Guard makes it out of here as well. I think there were just a lot of build adjustments happening by our Chaos players that are really making a difference in this Game 4. Nurgle's Rot activated yet again. We're seeing some Ravener models linger on death and then shooting at the Raveners for our actual Tyranid players. Chaos Space Marines, no, not Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Terminators, taking some shots from all these Raveners. They will do a very good job at tanking any damage from the Raveners as well as the Termagants, however. Eventually, though, I wonder if they will get an upgrade. Will indeed be that autocannon, just able to put a lot of threat on the Carnifex at range. The Bloodletters even trying to do what light AV damage they can, since some amount of power melee damage does actually make it through to heavy armor. Meanwhile, over here, we are going to see Terminators now have that, well, 2 squads of Terminators out on the field. One for Cenzontotochtin, one for Revs, both equipped with the autocannon. Very, very good for, honestly, a lot of things they're going to have to deal with. Good at dealing with the Carnifex from a distance, doing AV damage to it, and also great against things like the Termagants as well as the Raveners. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if the autocannon is substantially better against the Raveners than the starting Combi Bolter. But I think it still is, because it should splash a bit. Oh, Tyranniformation goes out, but I don't think too many units are going to get caught into it. Maybe the Bloodletters. Yeah, the Bloodletters do get hit. Oh my god. The Lictor Alpha absolutely shredded down. Ooh, a bunch of Termagant models did die. Will that final one be killed? It seemed like a hook was about to hit it. Meanwhile, the Carnifex is down to 250 hit points, trying to be chasing after it with the Chaos Space Marines. Oh, it walks into a wall, not getting up the stairs properly. Starting to take more light damage from the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, but I don't think it will be enough to take it out. But now it's more of a lead for our Chaos players. 275 victory points for them, 147 for our Tyranid players. We are going to see the cap on the contested victory point, though, by Don't Cry. Oh my god, look at that range damage, absolutely ripping apart all those units. That Ravener Brood nearly killed. At this point, now that we're in Tier 3, life actually feels really, really hard for our Tyranid players up against all of these leveled Chaos units. These level 3 Chaos Space Marines. How about the Khorne Marines? Yeah, both of them are level 4. I had a feeling. Oh my god, just look at the damage they're taking. They can't handle this. A Tyranniformation will be used. The suppression! The suppression combos the Tyranniformation so that that actually does get a pretty good hit, but it doesn't wipe the squads, and that's really... Oh man, one of them didn't even lose a single model. It was a nice combo, and yet I don't think it was good enough. I mean, I guess it forced them off the field, but I feel like they need more than that. Terminators trying to damage down this Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrant does have the Warp Field, however, so he will be quite a bit tankier. He hasn't activated it, though, so he's just taking regular health damage. All right, a lot more is going to go on over here. Tome of Subjugation used on the Venom Brood, I think. And they also get knocked over by some Blastmaster damage. Big Chaos Army coming in here. Ravener Alpha doesn't stand a chance. And the Bloodletters are trying to get out of there. They haven't lost a single model, and now they're in range of Heretic Worship. They can start regenerating health. Okay, now they lose a model. Unfortunately, got a little too overexcited and didn't pull back far enough. They're still going in, and they don't even have Heretic Worship anymore. I think they're just trying I think they just really want to finish off this Carnifex. Swarm Mines, however, will encourage the retreat from the Chaos Space Marines. Bloodletters themselves, again, they still need that worship. Both Chaos Space Marines as well as the Terminators chasing after the Carnifex. Carnifex will probably get out of there alive, however. Down here, not too much happening, but some more Terminator action. They will be actually just trying to get out of there. Pretty low in health. A Lictor, Tier 3 Lictor coming out of Ravener Alpha. Ooh, they're actually really going for it. I don't know if they can do it, though. Unfortunately, actually, they might just finish it. Carnifex seem to get stuck. Melee goes in, though. Oh, they finish. They managed to finish it off, and that's the Warp Global to save the Terminators. Oh, man. Wow, even must be some communication between them, because that was Revs who went all the way deep in there, but of course it's Cenzontotochtin who pulls him out. Or was it? I think I'm getting a little confused there. Oh no, I think it was Cenzontotochtin who was actually chasing after him. Anyway, big Barb Strangler shot does go in, but an even bigger Let the Galaxy Burn goes in from Asmon. We're going to see yet another Tome of Subjugation used on the Raveners. Neurothrope is being knocked down by the Blastmaster. At this time, we do now have several Chaos units in retreat. Great Unclean One is out on the field, though. Great Unclean One out on the field. Ravener Alpha, Synapse Aura, Reinforced Chitin, as well as Crippling Talon, but not going to be enough. Oh, that could be another kill. Okay, this time the Corn Marines seem to mess up a little bit, so they won't get the kill on the commander that time. Meanwhile, the Great Unclean One pushing its weight around. Our Tyranid players even just struggling to get back their natural, and then they don't even have much time to make a push for one of the other victory points. They have to get through a Land Raider Phobos, or they have to try to come around here. But let's take a look again back at the Land Raider Phobos. Lictor Alpha is probably in a huge amount of trouble right now. Okay, he will be okay, I think. I think the ranged weapons, if they target the Lictor Alpha, I was going to say might take them out, but before that can even happen, that will be the end of Game 4, going in favor of our Chaos players. 2-2 now. That means it's only going to be one game left, and that will decide the winner of this series. Our final game in the series will take place on Hades Waste. It will be Darkar on the Hive Tyrant yet again. Next up, Lokyo on that Lictor Alpha, and Don't Cry on the Tunneling Ravener Alpha. On the other side, Revs will be subbed out. It's going to be Dark Riku stepping in his place, playing as this Plague Champion. Cenzontotochtin as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. And finally, it will be Asmon playing as the Chaos Lord yet again. Alright then, seemingly pretty big open map here. Actually, there are a lot of walls that can block line of sight on this map. We'll see what they can do here. Single cap for Chaos at the moment, as the cap on the natural victory point seems like coming out a little bit slow from our Tyranid players, so they will start with a small victory point deficit once that is finally captured. A little bit unexpected for it to be that slow. Chaos Lord engaging here seemingly by himself, does get some support in the form of some friendly Doom Bolts, also gets a pretty nice kill of the week to keep his health kind of topped up as he continues to tank and be in there, and the damage starts to come in from the other units. More Doom Bolts coming in from Cenzontotochtin. This is actually a major engagement win for the Chaos, I think. Yes, very, very convincing fight win. These Termagants, they need to get out of here, otherwise they're just going to take damage and bleed models. Where are they going? All right, they do retreat out of there. I think there might still be a model loss or two on this squad. All right, they actually get out of there without any model losses. Spore Mines going in here, seeing if they can finish off the Chaos Lord in retreat. There is a possibility that they can do that. Okay, they kill the Chaos Lord in retreat, but it should actually be a pretty easy revive for the Sorcerer. So I'm not actually sure that that really buys them that much, because it's not like who got the experience on the side of the Tyranids for that kill. The Spore Mines? I don't think they level. And they are a unit that eventually gets killed. Instead, we have the Chaos Sorcerer leveling to 2 based on that revive that he just got on Asmon. Asmon does need to be careful, though. Let's not have that Chaos Lord go down again. He's being pretty aggressive after only just reviving. Big Doombolts going in from Cenzontotochtin yet again. All right, then. Hive Tyrant is in here. He definitely has some support, at least in the form of the Termagants. Hormagaunts will also engage in melee with the Heretics. The Heretics are lower, but they will just Doom Blast and then try to run away from the Hormagaunts as the Chaos Space Marines just put in the damage on them. One squad of Chaos Space Marines going to have to get out of there. Very unfortunately losing 2 models on Dark Riku's Chaos Space Marines. Heretics will be looking to move in. There is no crippling poison on these Termagants, so they will get in there. Should be a Doom Blast eventually. Looks like they're not even going to bother. Okay, now they bother. Hive Tyrant looking to get back in there. He is trying to upgrade to the Rending Talons, I think, to try to do something about these Heretics. I think he will just about get it. There it is. Knocks over the Heretics. They're in kind of a bad position, but I don't think there will be enough follow-up to really threaten a kill on those Heretics. It's looking pretty good for Chaos at the moment. Double cap, 500 victory points to 418. We are seeing some light generator bashing coming in from that tunnel, but eventually it doesn't succeed in taking a generator. They're trying to come back out here, but I don't think this is a fight that's going to go well for them. The Raptors are here, and the only thing that's really going to do well against the Raptors is this Lictor Alpha, and ultimately it does seem like the Lictor Alpha will just be overwhelmed between the Chaos Lord, the Chaos Sorcerer, the Raptors, yeah. So the Lictor Alpha just has to get out of there, and at this point that means the Hormagaunts need to get out of here too. There's nothing they achieve. They will only bleed models. Still a double cap for our Chaos players. Looks like they might be going for an engagement where they could threaten to take the Tyranid natural victory point. And this is happening while the Tyranids are looking to see if they can get the contested victory point over here. However, a Plague Turret. It's not really even called a Plague Turret, but just because it's made by the Plague Champion, I tend to call it the Plague Turret. Okay, does seem to be shooting now at these units. Meanwhile, what's happening again over here? Looks like it was a Chaos fight win. And the Sorcerer, is he going to start capturing the point? He will. So victory point pressure being put on them. Chaos Lord, okay, no, he's not going to go for it. Decides he wants to contribute to this fight. With those Vestments of the Warp, he can just quickly teleport in on a ranged squad to tie it up, and that can really just go a long way to helping our Chaos players win this engagement. As it is, Heretics make it into melee. Doombolts go in. Chaos Lord's in the front. Raptors are starting to take a lot of damage, though, so they will jump on out of there. Ooh, eventually this will have to be a retreat from our Chaos players. Ultimately, I don't really like that decision from our Chaos players. They could have exerted more victory point pressure. As it is, they'll get some of it anyway, but they could have exerted it a lot earlier. And ultimately, they just lost this fight here. Just going in a little too far, getting disrupted by the Raveners, and I don't even think they got much in terms of generator bashing either. Will the Sorcerer be wiped in retreat? It's pretty close, but I think he does get out alive. So, I mean, definitely our Chaos players still winning at the moment, but I feel like they could literally be winning harder. I feel like they had an opportunity to capture this victory point, and they didn't. Trying to see what they could get out of a generator push. Even pushing all the way into the Tyranid base or getting really close to it. Meanwhile, the heavy turret has yet to be dislodged. Oh my god, the Termagants! Oh no! Getting right out of that tunnel, getting killed by the turret. We've got some Raveners in melee, but now they're being suppressed as the Hormagaunts behind them are getting shot at. Heretics here, though, are repairing the turret as it's taking damage. So the turret, I think the turret stays up. I don't think there's enough damage here. Oh, but the Heretics. There's enough damage on the Heretics, so the Heretics will get out of there. I think they make it out alive. I don't think the Hive Tyrant makes it out alive. I guess he was going for the Heretics, but didn't realize how little health he had. It's still a double cap for our Chaos players, but no victory points have ticked down in favor of our Tyranid players at all yet. It's our 5th and final game, and yet it seems like our Tyranid players are crumbling. They started off the series with a strong start, but now it's looking pretty dire for them. Over a 250-point victory point lead. They're losing fight after fight and aren't able to regain control of the map. And this time, I think this Generator Bash will be a little bit more successful. We even see Heretics looking to put some threat on this victory point. Even if they don't get the victory point themselves, even just stalling the Tyranids from getting it puts so much pressure on the Tyranid team. And I think the Tyranids lose this fight anyway. Yeah, Raptors jump in, Chaos Lord is there, they win that. While the Chaos Space Marines just bash the Generators, this is looking like a pretty quick last game in favor of our Chaos team. Now over 300 victory points in their favor, while these Chaos Space Marines clean up this Generator farm. Only one Generator left. What are they going to do? They're not even back out here on the field. It's Lokyo by himself trying to fight some guerrilla warfare, trying to revive the Hive Tyrant. The Hive Tyrant gets revived, but he's also in a bit of a compromising position. Even if he just retreats, he's going to have to go through so much. This might not have been the play. Sneaky revive attempts by Lokyo, but I don't know if it'll work. The Hive Tyrant's still here because he's trying to destroy this new Heavy Bolter turret. He might die again. I think he does. He just needs to be attacked. So Hive Tyrant killed yet again. Ravener made it out alive, but I don't know if it'll be enough. It's still a triple cap for the red team. I think very soon it's going to be only a 2-0 cap. But we see the Chaos players actually moving in. They might move in to interrupt that as well. Doombolts will go in, mostly dodged. But it does mean that our Tyranid players are moving back when they really need to be moving forward. They are really running out of time now. It's very much do or die. They need to get out. They need to get this victory point, and they need to get another one. They can't even just get one. Let the Galaxy burn, actually doing a lot of damage, getting very, very close to wiping that last Termagant model. Time is really running out. Chaos players just pushing in all the way into the base for the Tyranids so that they can't get out. It's just buying time for the victory points and making it so that the Tyranid players have no time to get back out there. It would honestly be so tragic after their pretty strong Game 1 start if our Tyranid players go out in the end in a 500-0 game. But it's looking like it's going to happen. I mean, Lictor Alpha in retreat now. They really can't afford to have any of their units retreating. They need to have units advancing. I think they're straight up out of time now. I think this is game. Ouch. Oof. 512 in the end, conceded before 0 was hit. And that will be the end of the series in favor of our Chaos team. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.